what do you think the biggest strength of this team is going to be this upcoming season with the new acquisitions?
Okay, so I have three answers to this, Anthony. So
I
like
love
this is
it.
this
I
is
love
how
it.
we get into, super long episodes is you ask me one question and I give three answers. Here's the strength that I don't think people talk enough about. They have Cade Cunningham. That
Mhm.
is the biggest strength of this team is you have one of the best players in the NBA. And whether you think he's the best player in the East or one of the top 3 or one of the top 5, like however you want to say it, I don't care. My point is, like, when you have that guy, you give yourself a chance, right?
Gotcha.
If you don't have that guy, it's really hard to give yourself a chance in the NBA. And so to me, the biggest strength for this team, for this organization right now, always goes back to Cade Cunningham.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say depth. But like I said, I knew we were gonna have different type of answers, but I agree with you. Like having Cade is probably your biggest strength just because I think we understand he's a top 10 player, whether you want to say top 10, top 5. I mean, best player in the East. I think we all understand how special of a player he is, but I was just kind of looking at the acquisitions in the roster. I was just like, and we'll kind of get into one of our segments later, but like this team is extremely deep. I know I was listening to your podcast. I can't remember which player you guys mentioned, but like I have him as the 11th guy, and I was just like, it's crazy the amount of depth that this team has, which was a huge strength last year with the injuries that we did have. But I look at this team again, and it's a really deep team. Could easily be 10 to 12 guys that play each and every night.
Well, I told you I had three answers. So
Hmm.
my one of my other answers was the depth. I think it depends on how you do the roster, but let's just say same starting lineup, but you have John Collins instead of Tobias Harris, right? And then let's say the next five is Danis Jenkins, Isaiah Joe, Ron Holland, Torian Prince, Paul Reed. Well, then you still have Kevin Herter, Javonte Green, who was a really good regular season player for sure
Hmm.
last year, and the rookie Abuka Okori. Like Abuka Okori might be your 13th player and was a first round pick. And I'm not saying that's what he's going to be. Abuka may be the backup point guard. I don't know. But, and that's like Tolu Smith is still there. Your 15th player, Anthony, is Chaz Lanier, who at the very least can come in and provide some floor spacing. And so that's where, if I was going to be more specific, this team has real depth in terms of floor spacing. Now, they don't always have the best all around floor spacing lineups because you have non shooters in Ausar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Paul Reed, and right now, Ron Holland. But when you have all of Duncan Robinson, Isaiah Joe, Torian Prince, Danis Jenkins is a really good catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Like, you have real floor spacing depth on this team. And so even if I wanted to be more specific beyond just depth overall, it's also all of those guys that have the ability to knock down threes and space the floor.
I know one of your video breakdowns of Elijah Harkless, like that's such a deep rotation guy, but that's like a lot of depth at point guard too. Like you
Yeah.
talked about, you
So
talked
good
about
defensively.
Abuka.
So good defensively at the point of attack, Elijah Harkless.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a coach, or like one of his family friends, but he like sent me his measurables, and he's like, he's got the same exact measurables as Drew Holiday, like exactly the same. And I was like, I haven't even dove that deep into the Elijah Harkless film. I saw that we signed him. I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's a Motor City Cruise guy. And I was like, oh, he actually played some games for the Utah Jazz, and Will Hardy like raved about the kid. So it's just like, who knows? Maybe that's another guy that could crack the rotation if there is an injury. You never know.
And so my third one here is I think we can talk about their defense at this point, Anthony. Like, I think their defense is going to be a strength. And we've seen them have, through 2 years with JB Bickerstaff, different rosters, different players in the rotation, and that defense still be very good. And so that's one. And I think more and more, they have a real identity defensively in terms of wanting to be disruptive to the offense. And they continue to add players that do that. Like, to me, that's if Abuka Okori plays a bunch of minutes this year, his value defensively will come from his ability to disrupt the offense whenever he's on the defensive end. Ron, like, go to NBA.com And I think it's either I think it's deflections. And if you do it like per 100 possessions, it's Ausar Thompson, Ron Holland, Paul Reed. It's like 4 of the top 15 players or something like that. And so I think their defensive identity and how good they are defensively is another big strength for this team. And I think it's not plug and play. It can't just be anybody. But let me ask you this, Anthony. How many times last year did you go, man, they can't play Duncan Robinson? He's not able to hold up defensively. Like he's just really, tanking their defense. That conversation didn't really come up last year. And I think that was a huge concern of the fan base whenever they signed Duncan Robinson, 12 months ago.
I mean, they're having conversations about the starting 2 guard right now. Who's it going to be? But you never really had those concerns with Duncan. And like, I think an underrated part of like his game was the rebounding. Like he was a really good rebounder at the position, but no, you didn't really have games where like you really questioned if he was getting like, I guess, cooked is the term that the kids use today. But I mean, he did foul a lot, but I mean, like if you're fouling it, this tells me like you're at least trying to stay in front of your defender. But I mean, overall, like I was really pleased with Duncan. I know he did have a couple of games where the shot wasn't falling, went in little slumps, but overall, he was a really good 2 guard for the Pistons for the money that they got him with.
Who's the major negative defender on the roster? Like Duncan's probably the worst defender, like to be fair. But like we just said, it wasn't like it was so bad that you couldn't play him. Go through the second unit Danis is good defensively. Yep. Isaiah Joe, I think, is better than what people think and is at least neutral. Ron Holland is really good defensively. Paul Reed is extremely disruptive. Like Taurean Prince at the 4, I think, is a little bit undersized, like maybe, but Javonte Green's a good defender. I thought Kevin Huerter was very good defensively. For the Pistons. Like to me, with Huerter, it's really like, is he able to knock down, catch and shoot threes? Abuka, Corey, like of those 13 guys we're talking about, the rookie point guard, is the guy that's like, man, maybe so you know what I mean? Like it's just, there's not a whole lot of just like, man, this guy, it just, what are you going to do defensively if he's on the floor? There's just not a whole lot of those guys on the roster.
I know Duncan did get hunted out a lot during the regular season, but it's not like to the point where it's just like we have to take him out of the game. Like he's the reason why we're losing, because I thought the help side defense was really good all year with Isaiah Stewart and Ausar Thompson. But like overall, like you can go down the list. Like I thought of a player, but he's probably not going to play like Ugonna and Yenso, just like with the summer league stuff that we did see. But like he'll be better with the Motor City Cruise. But like overall, you're right. Like you kind of just look down the starting lineup, the bench, the deeper bench guys. Like even Chaz Lanier had some stuff in this regular season where I was pretty impressed with just the way he was moving and communicating, especially like in pick and roll sets.
I'm not sitting here trying to make the argument that Duncan Robinson is a positive defender or whatever, but I will say this. He played the second most minutes on the team for the team that was second in the NBA in defensive rating. And again, I'm not saying that's because of Duncan Robinson. We all know that's because Ausar Thompson and, et cetera. My only point here is if Duncan Robinson is your worst defender in your 10, 11-man rotation, and we've seen him be able to hold up perfectly fine, your defense should be pretty good again. And when I say pretty good, I'm saying top 5 again. And they continue to just lean into really being able to disrupt other offenses. Like, I think that's the trade-off they see between Isaiah Stewart and Paul Reed is Isaiah Stewart's a better rim protector than Paul Reed, Anthony. Like, I would say Isaiah Stewart's an all-around better defender than Paul Reed. But you know what Paul Reed does better than anybody on this team, including Ausar Thompson, is be disruptive. Paul Reed averaged over 6 stocks per 100 possessions. Ausar Thompson averaged 5.5. Like, pure disruption. Paul Reed absolutely gets after it on the defensive end.
Oh, I just love the way he blitzes pick and rolls like every time. Like that's like probably my favorite thing about Paul Reed is I know he's just going to blitz a pick and roll and get a steal or get a deflection. And like offensively, the production you get, like I looked at his per 36 numbers. They're just absolutely insane. Like he's a
Yeah.
per 36. Like
And that's a little unfair, right? Because Paul Reed played 900 minutes. Ausar played almost 2,000. It is a little unfair, right? Like I listen, Ausar Thompson is the best perimeter defender in the NBA, was, first team all defense, rightfully so, all of that. Like we all understand that. My only point here is I think why they felt comfortable with Paul Reed over Isaiah Stewart, especially defensively, is because of the disruption that Paul Reed brings and them just continuing to lean into that more and more. I think what they finished last year top, I thought it was like top 3. They were first in steals per game and first in blocks per game. I thought it was like top 3 for both. I didn't realize it was literally number 1 in both.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Javonte and Ron were top 5 in steals off the bench. And I think that set some kind of NBA record because both of those guys were really disruptive in the passing lanes and just getting deflections as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's what Javonte is, a really good regular season player. Now you get in the playoffs, teams scout that a little bit more. And I did some breakdowns on this and made notes of it throughout the playoffs of, well, now when he's a little too aggressive off the ball, he gets weak side flare screened and gives up a catch and shoot 3 or something like that. Like it, when teams really scout it, it can end up being a negative, I guess, but it definitely gets you through the regular season.
Would you also say with the acquisition of John Collins, like they'll be a much stronger transition team?
Interesting. This was not one that I had on my radar. But I would say the 1-for-1, I know it wasn't a trade, but Tobias Harris, I would say yes. In general, I think John Collins theoretically should enhance their transition game because of his athleticism and all of that. I would agree with that if we're just going 1-for-1 with him and Tobias Harris. I'm trying to think about the other moves if I would agree with that also. Interesting. But yes, 1-for-1, yes.
Because I was just thinking, like, they were a pretty good transition team when they were able to get stops. Like, that's something that I know JB preached about, like getting, just open court transition opportunities. And I love Tobias Harris, like for what he was, but you could tell like he was panting by the third quarter trying to get like those transition opportunities with Ausar and Cade and all those like younger bucks just like running up and down the court.
Well, the other thing is, again, I don't know where Abuka Corey's spot in the rotation is going to be, but he's another player that can really push pace in that way. Like I think Abuka looks really good in the open floor. Whether he gets a steal himself or the outlet pass, whatever it may be. And so I think and here's another thing, the floor spacing makes your transition, better as well. So you're talking about Isaiah Joe running out in transition, Taurean Prince running out in transition. Those guys aren't catching lobs at the rim, but they're spacing to the weak side corner to either get the kick out play or they're bringing a defender to them. So when John Collins runs or Paul Reed runs, now the lane is more open for a catch and finish or Cade to get all the way to the rim. So I could see them making a little bit of a step forward transition wise.
Yeah, I feel like Collins and Isaiah Joe are stronger play finishers, than we had last season on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Isaiah Joe is really good. And I didn't, you could go find the tweet if people want to see the exact numbers, but I did the comparison, him versus Duncan Robinson. And it wasn't to say like, oh, Isaiah Joe is a Duncan Robinson replacement. It was to hopefully give Pistons fans a visual of, you just saw what Duncan Robinson did for a year. Here's how Isaiah Joe compares to him. And the comparison, it was very similar. There was a couple play types that were a little bit different. I think Isaiah Joe is probably used more in like a pick and pop ghost screen action, which is going to be a lot of fun with Cade Cunningham, by the way. But my point was just to show, hey, we've seen Duncan Robinson be an elite floor spacer, and Isaiah Joe is also an elite floor spacer. The fact they've kept Duncan Robinson on this roster and then added Isaiah Joe to it, I love. Not to mention Taurean Prince, who whatever is left with his game. And I think I'm a little bit lower than other people, but I still think he's an NBA rotation player. And there's no question he is still a legit floor spacer.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to be the most spacing Cade has ever had. Like, I know I had someone on last week saying, like, it's probably going to be similar to the Hardaway Beasley in terms of just like volume of 3-pointers that like Isaiah Joe and Duncan is going to just attempt overall.
Can I push back just a little bit? I don't even want to push back. I want to get your thoughts. So the only reason I didn't say floor spacing was a strength is because I don't know how many lineups are going to play these guys together where it's actually that big of a strength. You know what I mean? Because the starting lineup still has Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren. And I know things aren't 5 in, 5 out. That's not how you sub. But even the second unit, quote unquote, has Ron Holland and Paul Reed. So I think there will be, I was trying to think about this today. How many minutes, Anthony, would you be comfortable playing a Cade Cunningham, Duncan Robinson, Isaiah Joe, Taurean Prince, Jalen Duren lineup? Like how many minutes in a regular season game? Because offensively, that's a lot of fun. Defensively, can you hold up for 3? Like, can you end a quarter like that? Can you start a quarter with that lineup, survive defensively, knowing that you're going to be impossible to guard on the offensive end?
I'm going to be harsh and say like maybe like 3. Like I
don't think that's harsh. That was my answer. But here's the thing. I hope JB does it. I hope he starts the second quarter with Cade Cunningham, 3 floor spacers, Jalen Duren, and just runs middle ball screen and dares the defense either to not help and let Cade and Jalen Duren play a 2-man game, or hey, help from any one of those 3, and we're going to get a wide open 3-point attempt from a 40+% 3-point shooter. And then we'll hold up enough defensively. Cade, you got to take the other team's best player here. Isaiah Joe, Duncan Robinson, Taurean Prince. We just need you guys to be active here off the ball. And Jalen Duren, take a step forward, protecting the rim defensively. I think he can hold up for 3 or 4 minutes against certain teams and certain lineups.
Yeah, I feel like the only team that you could, maybe not anymore, because I feel like they got a little bit better in the draft, is like maybe Brooklyn. But we even saw Brooklyn like when we weren't like really taking them seriously. Like I remember that run, and when they lost that game, I was like, maybe you can get away with like 4 to 5 minutes with Brooklyn. But I was like thinking maybe Brooklyn's a little bit more serious because they have Julius Randle, they still have Michael Porter Jr. Really like the point guard that they took out of the draft this year. I can't think of his name.
Michael Brown.
Yeah, I really like Michael Brown. Like they have a lot of youth, but like again, like I would not want to see that lineup for too long. But like if you just need some offense and buckets, like that lineup would definitely get you some buckets pretty fast.
So that's my point, though, is while they have depth of floor spacing, it's not necessarily floor spacing that can all play together. You don't have a true stretch big, depending on how much you want to play John Collins at the 5, or maybe Paul Reed continues to expand that. And so, like, that's the only reason why I would push back a little bit on the floor spacing being an overall strength, just because you can't play it all together in lineups that much or for that long.
I agree with you. I didn't really have floor spacing as a strength either. I was thinking today, I was like, they're probably going to be a better transition team. I was thinking, I think half court sets they'll probably still be like around. I think they were 16th last year. I think they'll kind of tread around that same type of ranking or whatever you would kind of want to categorize it. But overall, I think they'll at least have 1 3-point shooter on the starting lineup and with the bench unit. Like again, I'd love to see 2 3-point shooters out there. Maybe they do, like you mentioned, John Collins at the 5 and maybe Duncan Robinson out there if you want to get away with it with a smaller lineup.
Yeah, so that's the other lineup I was trying to do, is like, what if you did Cade, Isaiah Joe, Duncan Robinson, Ausar Thompson, John Collins, and you're just going to like try to switch everything, and you're going to be small, but maybe Ausar rebounds well enough. You're asking a lot from Ausar in that lineup defensively, like go guard the other team's best player and grab every defensive. But Cade can be a good defensive rebounder. We've seen it in his career. Yeah. He just doesn't always have to be, because Asar's a good rebounder. Tobias is a good defensive rebounder. And so, like, I wonder if that would maybe be possible in terms of being able to again, you're not playing a ton of minutes in a row of a lineup like that, but you can almost play a Cade Cunningham ball screen stuff. And then again, you have John Collins off ball, Isaiah Joe, Duncan Robinson spacing. And yeah, I don't know. I think there's some fun, different lineup combinations you can get to with this roster right now.
Yeah, I want to see pick and pops with Cade and John Collins. I'm just like
Sure.
really
Yeah.
interested, or because I know he's a little bit older, but I know he could still be a lob threat too. Like I think you could set like two high screens with Jalen Duren and John Collins and kind of pick your poison who you're going to guard, which I think will be a whole lot of fun if JB wants to kind of implore that.
Agreed. No, I think here's my thing with Collins, and this is getting a little bit to one of my worries or whatever weaknesses, is with the front court. I like the idea of Collins being able to play the 5. My issue is how much can you play him at the 5 when you need him to play so many minutes at the 4, because I don't have a great answer for who the backup 4 is, and listen, I've come around a little bit more on Taurean Prince. Ausar can play some minutes at the 4, stuff like that. But my thing is, okay, let's say John Collins plays 30 minutes a night, right? I think that's probably the most you can expect. There's already 18 minutes at the 4 that somebody else needs to play. And now if you're taking 10 or 12 of those minutes and playing him at center, well, now there's another 10 or 12 minutes where somebody else has to be the 4. So that's my only thing with the, and then also Paul Reed is an answer to one of the questions later, but like now if Paul Reed's playing the 4, right? Let's say Paul Reed's going to play some 4. Are we positive Tolu Smith can handle the backup 5? So like just the depth all around there. I'm a little interested to see how it plays out, mostly because the center rotation of Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Paul Reed was probably the best in the NBA last year. And while I think Paul Reed being the backup center is going to be fine, and I've come around on that, and I know people have high hopes for Tolu Smith, you just can't sit here today and tell me that Jalen Duren, Paul Reed, Tolu Smith is better than Jalen Duren, Isaiah Stewart, Paul Reed. You know what I mean? Like, so that's my one thing with the front court, I guess.
I mean, we can go right into it because you kind of like just echoed your concerns with that. I have a few. My biggest is backup 4. Like we were just kind of talking about that. Like you mentioned Taurean Prince. I see Ron Holland in a lot of depth charts as a backup 4. I've even said, I don't know if they're done in free agency. I would assume they are, but Trendon Watford is still unsigned. I don't know if that's the player you go and get. But back-to-back years, we just really haven't addressed the backup power forward spot. And I'm interested to see what JB does. I feel like it's going to be Taurean Prince because he's a vet and he's played a little bit of backup 4 in Milwaukee. But that's one of my biggest concerns is just that position in general.
Yeah, I think my general answer is just the front court. And again, I've come around a little bit on the combination of Taurean Prince, Ron Holland, Javonte Green can make it work. And I will hear that out. I think part of my issue is, Anthony, I spent all pre-free agency going, man, can they get John Collins and Sandro Mamukelashvili? If Sandro Mamukelashvili was on this team, I would be ecstatic. Like that would have been for them not making a big move, right? Not trading for Trey Murphy or signing Austin Reeves or whatever, the names that have floated out there this offseason. If that wasn't going to happen, if you told me they brought in Isaiah Joe, they brought in John Collins, and they also brought in Sandro Mamukelashvili, and I don't know, like Kyle Metz could probably tell us whether that was even possible in any sort of world or not. But like that would have been my vision because or even if it was like Rui Hachimura and Sandro Mamukelashvili. But I think I had envisioned finding a way to get 2 of those type of players, especially if you're trading Isaiah Stewart.
Yeah, I even kind of floated out like a Dean Wade. Like,
great name. Great name, Anthony. Great name.
Like the fact that Philly got him for the number that they did, I was like, I like Kevin Huerter, but like if we would have let Kevin Huerter go and got Dean Wade, I would have been ecstatic because then you got a backup 4 or a backup 3 or wherever you want to play him. Because I think he's extremely underrated. I know some people kind of crap on him a little bit, but Philly had a hell of an offseason.
Anthony, O2 said it the other day. Dean Wade's was one of the best Cade defenders that we've seen, and I'm not, listen, like, it's all relative, right? It's not like Dean Wade shut him down or something like that, but you know what I mean? And I'm not saying you only sign him for that reason, but he is a good defender. That is a great call there with Dean Wade. That's a great, so that's what I envisioned was two of those guys in some way. And not only did they not bring in two of them, they also traded Isaiah Stewart. So they only brought in one, and they traded away Isaiah Stewart. I think that's why I'm struggling so much with the front court.
I am too, but they're at 16 roster spots. Maybe they make a very late free agency move, kind of like they did with Javonte Green last offseason. I'm hopeful there is a legitimate backup for where we're talking about it and we're like, that's okay. Like maybe the guy's kind of under the radar. Someone mentioned Kevin Love in the chat. I love Kevin Love, but maybe 10 years ago. not right now. Not right now, you guys. I like the spacing, but the defense is kind of bad at this stage of his career.
Yeah. I was just trying to look through like teams here to see if there's any names that would like Jarris Walker, if Indiana was, I don't know what their plans are there. I don't know that I didn't have a whole lot of names prepared. Like I am just assuming at this point, I know they have to make one move, right? I don't know who it is. I assume this is the roster they go into the regular season minus one player that they just waive or find, they trade into somebody's trade exception. If somebody wants, Gary Harris is the name that I always think of that doesn't end up on the roster. I don't know if that's actually what ends up happening. I just can't imagine them trading any of these other guys now. Can you?
Yeah,
it can't be Tolu. Tolu can't be.
It
can't be Torian based on the conversation we're having about the backup four. It almost has to be Gary Harris unless it's part of like a 2-for-1 trade that brings in somebody else.
Yeah, I know a lot of us were talking about PJ Washington for like a long time, but like I don't even know how you get up to that. And I'm with you. I think Gary Harris is the casualty because I don't really think you need to carry 6 shooting guards. Like that's your deepest room by far. And kind of where Gary is at in his career. Like he's had a lot of injuries, obviously didn't play a whole lot because of injuries. I think he averaged less than 3 points a game with Milwaukee. But I guess the argument that a lot of Pistons fans like, well, he shot 40%. I was just like, I understand that, but like you have a lot of shooters on this team. I don't really think you need to carry them on this roster right now.
To your point, then who is it though? Like I'll hear that out. So are you trading Chaz Lanier after the summer league he just had? And listen, I will be the first one to bring up, summer league and shooting percentages and all of that. But again, it can't be Tolu Smith unless there's another move that comes after that, because he is unquestionably, in my opinion, the third center. Like,
yeah,
I have some intrigue with Ugana Onyenso long-term, but that is definitely a Motor City Cruise player for this year, probably a couple years. It's not, again, Taurean Prince, Javonte Green, it's not those guys. You're not trading Danis, Paul. Like, I just don't know who else it could be.
No, when I did my depth chart video a couple of weeks ago, I had Gary Harris getting cut and waived to get them to 15. I don't really know what's out there in terms of trading, but I'm with you. I probably wouldn't really want to trade Tolu because like what is out there in the center market and free agency, it's pretty dried up right now. And by the way, you still have to sign your starting center, by the way. It's just like, man.
So that's, okay, for your listeners and viewers, I'm just talking about Jalen Duren like this contract is going to get signed. And when I say contract, I don't mean the qualifying offer. I understand if people question that. That's just how I'm approaching the offseason right now. I don't expect us to get an answer for another month still. And I have no inside knowledge, anything like that. I have no clue. I just talk about the offseason like eventually they're going to come to some sort of agreement. My guess is they either Jalen Duren comes down and they do get like a 5 for $200 deal, or they end up in a shorter term, like a 2+1, with the player, some sort of 3-year deal, some shorter deal at a little bit higher money. I'm under the assumption something gets done and Jalen Duren's on the team and not on the qualifying offer. So just to be clear here, whenever we talk through this.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about Jalen Duren so much that I told my listeners, I was like, you guys, unless he signs the qualifying offer, there's a sign and trade, or he signs. I'm done talking about it.
Fair. It's fair.
When you're doing daily podcasts every day, like, got another Jalen Duren update. I was like, you got, like, I read the comments like, Anthony, I'm sick of hearing that name every damn day. Like, well, I get it.
The thing is, there's nothing changes for a while now. Like the next quote unquote deadline or whatever is to sign the qualifying offer. Right. Yeah. And so like, there's no reason for Jalen Duren to sign anything right now. He can just wait. He puts more pressure on the Pistons the longer this goes. And I'm not saying he can put a ton. I mean, he can if they really end up thinking he's going to sign the qualifying, because that is a bad situation for Detroit, right? He has a no trade clause. He'll be an unrestricted free agent, probably unhappy. Like, that is not an ideal situation. So I just don't think a whole lot is going to change. Sorry to Pistons Talk listeners that we just did Jalen Duren conversation for a few minutes. I apologize.
It's all good. Like, I'm under the same assumption as you. I'm assuming that he is on the team. I just really hope it doesn't come to the qualifying offer, because Agreed. At that point, like, you just have to, like, if he even threatens to take it, then you kind of have to just like brush aside, like, okay, like, what's a sign and trade deal we can do? Because you don't want
to. Sorry, like, I will literally be stressed every game watching the Pistons if Jalen Duren plays on the qualifying offer, like, for his sake, because one injury and it will stress me out so much. Like, Jalen Duren, selfishly for me, please don't sign the qualifying offer, because I can't watch 82 games hoping that you don't get hurt and that ends up being a really bad decision. So just meet in the middle, wherever that is, get this locked in, and let's move forward talking about Ausar Thompson's contract, because that's where the conversations will immediately turn to.
Yeah, like, I hope it doesn't come to that. I hope they do kind of meet in the middle, whatever that price point is. Maybe it's a shorter term deal, which I kind of share the same opinion as you, because then he's like 25, then he can test the market again. But to me, it's just kind of just been like a lot of agent talk and a lot of agent tactics, which I understand. I get it. You're trying to get your client the most money possible. But I think I'm kind of with you. Backup four is probably one of my biggest concerns with this roster. I don't know if you have any others.
One real quick one is, I will just say secondary ball handler creator. And that is secondary ball handler creator when Cade Cunningham is on the court, and also when Cade Cunningham is off the court. And I think some people may disagree, and I would hear that there are a bunch of options here in terms of, one, Jalen Duren did do that during the regular season, right? It didn't translate to the playoffs, but he did a lot of creation with the ball in his hands during the regular season. Maybe Ausar Thompson takes a step forward with that. We saw them do that a little bit more. I did a video breakdown on that if people want to go check it out on the Substack. Abuka Okori got drafted to do that. Can he do it this year? I think now I'm higher on Danis Jenkins than most of the fan base. Again, that's kind of been a roller coaster with me, where I feel like I was higher on Jenkins and then I was lower, and now I'm back higher on him. And then Laz brought this up, and so I will credit him. Maybe Ron Holland has some of that. Maybe like that's his role off the bench. So I think there are options. I just can't pinpoint one specific one that I say, no question, this one's going to pan out for the Pistons in the 26-27 season.
Hey, you hope that can be Abuka Okori. I don't know if it will be his rookie year. I do think if he does play with real NBA players, the prime real estate he can get into the paint is something that I think will translate really well. But like playing with like a guy like a Jalen Duren, or playing with the guy like a Paul Reed, for example, and like he looked for Chaz Lanier every damn possession. Like, what happens when he's looking for Isaiah Joe or Duncan Robinson and playing with real NBA players? Like, I'm pretty high on Abuka Okori as a prospect, but I'm with you. Like, I think a camp battle that I'll be paying attention to is Danis Jenkins and Abuka Okori for the backup point guard spot, because I don't really think it's set in stone. I don't think it's really Danis's spot right now. I think the way JB is. It's just going to be camp battles with a lot of these positions because he's one of those coaches that it's just like, yeah, like you got to earn it. I'm just not going to give it to you. So hopefully it is Ibuka, Corey, but I still have my questions as well.
Yeah. So that would be my other one there is just, okay, in games that Cade misses, but even in games that Cade plays, are they able to take a little bit of that on-ball pressure off of him?